Okay. Okay, welcome everybody to this special budget meeting, and I call the meeting to order. Other than Tammy, all members are present. Resolution to adopt the agenda.
Be it resolved that the agenda for the special meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Dysart et al. Held on December 12th, 2025 be approved as presented.
Mover and seconder, Nancy and Barry, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Being none. A proposed resolution of the proposed mayoral budget, I guess we're going to do now or wait till the end? And okay, that's good. Okay, well, I'll just start off by saying that this is not an easy process. We started off with, I think it was 7.2 or 7.2, but it didn't have any of the major projects in, like no roads, no nothing. So we were probably at, if we put everything in, we're probably at 15% or greater. And that's just not acceptable. So we've made a lot of cuts. That's why we want to review it with you today. We're still at 5.83 or whatever that is. And that's not great either in these times with the way people are struggling. But it's about as good as we can do without drastic cuts in services. We've looked at every department, taken everything out that isn't necessary. No new programs. That does affect a couple of the departments, and we'll go over this with you. But this was not an easy process. I spent a lot of hours on this with Braden and going through all these sheets and you know, and trying to be accurate as we could be. But we do have it balanced now. You know, we took a big hit with those bridges, and every time you borrow money, you have to pay the interest. And it's when you got $3.5 million borrowed this year, that adds up. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Braden here to go through the process with you. And if you want to ask a question, please stop us, and let's do it as we go, if you will. Thank you.
So we'll walk. So the process, as I mentioned, is a little bit different this year. So in May of 2025, the municipality of Dysart was extended strong mayor powers, which makes it the responsibility of the mayor to prepare and present a budget to council by February 1st. So as was mentioned already, Murray and Tamara and I sat down with each department head, went through their list of projects and operating for this year, and then it was compiled, and we went from 7.2 down to 5.83 through a series of cuts. So the way the process, if you want to go to the next slide, rolls out going forward. So there's a bit of a flow chart here. It's a bit small. So the mayor introduces the proposed budget, and council has a timeline. It's 30 days from the day that the proposed budget circulated. So yesterday, the clock starts. And within 30 days, council needs to pass a resolution with any specific amendments that you want to see from the proposed mayoral budget. So there's another budget meeting scheduled for January 9th, and that's 29 days. So at that meeting, that will be an opportunity to do the resolution. Going forward, then Murray has 10 days following that meeting to veto any changes that council makes if he's not happy with any of those. Then council has 15 days after that point with a supermajority vote to override the mayoral veto. Okay. But for the purposes of this meeting, it's just an introduction, and there's 30 days or January 9th, 2026, and that's when you can pass a resolution to make your budgetary amendments. Okay. So the budget document that was circulated, it looks a little different than it has in previous years, just the difference between how Barbara and I were preparing budget. So, and it ties back into the asset management plan and how it's all structured. So really, there's a distinct separation of the operating and the capital budgets. And like I mentioned at the November meeting for the asset management plan, the goal really is to try to create a capital tax levy and an operating tax levy that are distinct from one another. So the operating budget, which is the first 20 some odd pages of the master file, that's all your salaries and wages, your debt servicing costs, repairs and maintenance, anything that's permanent you can reasonably expect to incur year over year. And there's some operating transfers there as well. That's funded through taxation, it's funded through OMPF, it's funded through user fees. There's a net, and that's the capital tax levy. It's called net operating revenue. And that ties back to the asset management plan. So if you remember in that presentation, we said there was a 24% funding gap that we were increasing over time through a dedicated capital tax levy. So the capital budget that you see ties back into that, and the asset management plan informs the rate increase that gets applied to the capital budget. And what you do basically is you have a certain amount of funding. So your capital tax levy plus your CCBF plus your OSIF, and that's your capital funding umbrella. And you take the 10, 12 million of projects that were put forward, you prioritize them based on how much funding you have available. Okay.
Any questions so far? Okay.
So as Murray mentioned, so the draft budget they have is at a 5.83% increase. There's a few things that would stick out that we can highlight your attention to. So there's an 1.5% capital levy increase that's coming out of the asset management plan. There's a 1.63% increase that's tied directly to an increase in debt servicing costs. So those are your bridges, and there's a proposed project for sidewalks that we'll get to as well. And then the OPP levy itself requires a 1.84% increase. That came out last Friday, and they're bumping our levy up by the 11%, which is the maximum that's allowable under the Community Policing Act. And the increase, I think it was 27.3%. It's just capped at 11
It's probably going to be 11 in the future too.
every year for the foreseeable future. Yeah. Yep.
Do they have a rationale for that 11% increase in like operating costs of the detachment itself?
Yeah. It's
And
a
have they given you the number breakdown of the cost for fees for service within our municipality?
I haven't seen it yet, but it would be once I get it, I'll get it to you. But it'll be a combination of operating costs and calls for service.
I think they got a huge raise and they didn't put,
Plan for it.
yeah, they didn't pay for it. I should say also that, what I was going to say was, some of this stuff, it's almost 5% that we don't have any control over right there with the debt, the OPP. So, you know, it's a tough budget to get down. I've done a lot of them. This is the worst I've seen in terms of flexibility. Like, it's just not there.
I've been doing some digging. There's a lot of other municipalities bigger than ours,
Yeah.
but they're all hovering around 5%.
Yeah.
Sometimes 6. But with infrastructure we got coming up, whether it's bridges or what have you, we can stick handle that, but there's still gonna be a decent amount, whether we put in Bailey bridges or real bridges or culverts or whatever we're
There's
gonna
going
do
to be
there.
an amount. Yeah, you're right.
That's a big amount over and above what we would normally spend on a standard year.
Right.
But long term, even if we stay at 5 or 6% right now, these asset replacement, I'm gonna say bridges, keep it plain. They're long term, it's long term debt. So if we're trying to stay at 5 or 6 now, when we're really gonna need 8 for 20 years.
Right.
To cover the offset, if we're not getting any government, any provincial grants or anything for these bigger asset replacements, then it might be better from, in my own opinion, as it sits now. I know this is early in the conversation to go with a 7 or a 6.5 or something like that, and then go with more again next year. That's me running my mouth off. But again, these bridges are big capital projects on that note, like again, snowplow replacement and you know, maintaining costs for the gallery and all that type of stuff, pretty baseline with the odd roof replacement or whatever, but anyway. Anyway, I got some other stuff, but, oh,
Yeah, it's a slippery slope we're on. Because, there's no end to, municipal debt. The way the province is funding it right now, unless they find another source to give us, everything is on the property tax. That's not fair.
mhm.
Like, there's all kinds of things they could share with us a little bit and take us out of this hole, but they haven't done that, so. But I'll let Braden carry on. That's a thought, to do that. Someday, maybe, we'd like to think that inflation will go back a bit. And it won't be $550 for a truck, but I don't know if that's ever gonna happen or not.
Okay. So as far as, so at the 5.83%, what that means for, as far as an impact to household, so it's an increase of $20.51 per 100,000 of assessment. So for the median or typical single family dwelling, that's an increase of 46.98, or a total of 372.69 per 100,000. Commercial is 30.42 per 100,000 of assessment. Industrial is 35.25. So I took a quick look at Opta yesterday. So you'd have 78% of the tax base falls into that first bucket, with the average increase hovering around $48.
But in fairness, the bulk of our taxation is on the waterfront.
Mhm.
So they're not assessed at 300,000, they're assessed at 600,000 and 700,000. So they're looking at tax increases, just our portion of about $150 a minimum. The county's about the same,
Mhm.
so they're into $300 or $400 tax increases with this kind of a budget. That's where we have to be careful here.
So I pulled,
Where's the county stand? Are they,
They're
they're
at
not
six-
finalized or is
No,
finalized?
it's finalized, it passed, it's at 6.8. It's nearly 7%. They really got hammered from social housing and social services from the city of Kawartha Lakes, their share. I think it was 400 some thousand. So you can't hide that, you gotta pay that. So, anyway. It's not all terrible, but it's not really all good either.
yeah, so the seasonal recreational dwelling, the median increase to that is 83.08, but yes, there are some 100, 200, 300s for sure. So carry forward. So on the operating revenue budget. So our total operating revenues are about 19.8 million, of which grants are about 2.5. Our OMPF this year went up just under $260,000. There's user fees are just shy of 1.4 million. The interest and penalties went up 63,000 from last year, which is a lot more, but not always a good news thing. That means that your tax arrears are starting to build up. And then on the landfill budget, tipping fees came down, but there's an increase in the CMO funding. And there's a correction that needs to happen in the operating revenue budget for short-term rental revenues, because they didn't come in anything near what was anticipated in the 2025 budget, just a bit above half. Anything there, Murray?
Go ahead.
Good.
Any questions on that? Don't be afraid to ask, this is the time to ask.
So operating expenditures are 17.7 million. So as I mentioned, debt servicing costs are up 217,000. The OPP levies up 245,000. And I just picked out a couple of other things that I referenced in the staff report. So wages as a total are up 389,000. Some of that we're mitigating through a draw from the pay equity reserve. So 120,000 of that's cut out from that reserve transfer. 187,000 net on the fleet operating costs, and landfill tipping is up 119,000. Any questions on that?
Questions on that? Okay.
Okay. And so touch a bit on reserve and reserve fund. So this isn't it's not a comprehensive list by any means, but just some highlights. So in total, we have a net draw from reserve this year of just over 332,000. I've got a few highlights there. So the election reserve, every year we save a quarter of the cost for the election. And then 2026 being an election year, we draw that out and that smooths the cost out over the 4-year term. I mentioned the pay equity reserve, so you can see that there. On the vehicles reserve, so we put this year 659,000 into it, but we're pulling 530 back out for a tandem plow and pickup trucks, so the net increase is about 129,000. There's a draw from fire vehicles, 336,000 for a rescue truck. There's a net draw from the development reserve for the work on the County Road 21 property. And the Head Lake Bridge is drawing on the Parkland Reserve. We have 295,000. The rest of that cost would come out of roads capital, just generally. Any questions on that?
Questions on that?
Okay. On so debt repayment, so we have currently we're carrying forward 1.25 million in loans from 2025. That's the purchasing loan for the County Road 21 property. That's the remaining principal balance. As far as new loans, so there's the Redstone Book and Barry's Bay Bridges. 3.2 million coming out of debt for those two. And then the sidewalk project, which we'll get to, is also debt funded at 1.28 million. So with those, our total anticipated repayment costs in 2026 are 503,000 approximately, or 16% of your annual repayment limit. And as was mentioned at the beginning, as you take out new loans, that becomes a draw on your operating budget. So that's ties back to your operating levy increase. Yep.
When we have the auditors come, they usually give us that ARL number and they like it to be under 20 or
So you-
25.
You have to be under 25% of your
Right.
total revenues. Most councils, and I would suggest aim lower than that because you'll never get. Yeah. You should look, I would suggest something like 15% as a ceiling for that, but. Okay, and then on the asset management plan, so we updated our asset management plan at the November meeting on the capital, general capital budget. We had a funding gap of 24.3% that I mentioned before, we're trying to phase in over time. And so the recommendation that came in was at 2.2% over 10 years, 1.5 over 15. So right now we're at 1.5 over 15, but to what was mentioned earlier, if you wanted to increase your capital levy by another 0.7%, that would get you close to 6.5 total, but it would mean another 93,000 in your capital budget that you could spend on infrastructure projects.
So we actually decided to go to 15 years to reduce it a little bit.
And the same increase, so on the sewer budget, you were talking 5.1% over 10 years, and that's been factored into the wastewater budget as well. The difference of a 1.5 to a 2.2 is 265 per 100,000 in assessment, just in case that was under consideration. Okay. One last.
What, do you know the dollar amount that the sewage cost goes for a average household?
The RUP?
Yeah.
915.
915, and so that's up from 8 something.
871.
So that's another $35.
Yeah.
For homeowners. Okay.
Okay, and then so now we have each department has prepared their capital project. report, so we're gonna jump into the capital budget section. So we want to go a couple of slides ahead. So just in general, the capital budget's coming in around 8.9 million. We have that capital tax levy I referenced earlier, 2.07 million. There's grant funding through OSIF, CCBF, and the new funding stream that's come out for it's $38,000 for a pavement pothole rehabilitation. So that's included in the grant as well. About 1.9 million coming out of reserves. The new debt, as mentioned, and there's a small line item, 30,000, which is proceeds on the sale of the 2 pieces of equipment that are being replaced. And that's the breakdown of the expenditures by category. I won't spend too much time on this because each department head, as I mentioned, is gonna talk about their own projects. So I'll lead that part off as far as the administration capital. So there's three line items there. So a couple of years for last year, I guess it was, we signed an agreement with Microsoft Endeavor to replace our ERP system. It was at end of life, so that's a capital increase or a capital cost of 284.7. Part of that funding is coming out of, we have a bit of old modernization or safe restart funding sitting in our reserves, so we're gonna use that. The rest of it is tax funded. Out of the county IT budget, they're replacing our switch, which is $12,000. That again is tax funded. And then 310,000 in respect to the development of the County Road 21 property, and that's coming out of our development reserve.
Did they show you any money that we'd have to put in for the IT person they hired at the county?
They did.
Oh, they did, okay. 15% of half the salary,
50,000, so.
okay.
So we'll jump ahead. I think we just want to have each department head come up and speak to their sides.
Sure.
So we start with Carl.
Chance you can make that bigger. Good morning, council. So I don't have anything too exciting for you, which is a good thing, I guess, for budgets. So we're gonna be talking about just the changes over 2025. So what's changing? So with regards to revenue, so in November, council did pass the increased fees for building permits. So it's gonna be about a 10% increase. With that increase, it's going to bring us closer to meeting our target of being no burden on the tax base. With our septic revenue, septic permit revenue, so we're expecting that to remain the same. So even though we're doing less septic maintenance inspections this year, or sorry, in 2026, we still have a lot of outstanding orders which have to be caught up, and a lot of them are going to result in new septic systems being installed. So our septic permit numbers are still going to be up. So we're moving our building code order review fees from bylaw enforcement to building. It's going to stop any confusion as well as make it more efficient and effective in reviewing those fees and collecting those outstanding review fees. So that's just a change. It's not going to increase the total bottom line. It's just a change from bylaw to building. We have our septic maintenance inspection, as I said, so we're dropping down to 250, which is essentially about the number of STRs that we have. So this year, sorry, 2026, we're going to be inspecting all STRs. So we're going to be doing a complete septic maintenance inspection, shoreline protection, as well as the STR inspection on those properties. So that's going to be about 250. So that's going to be a decrease in the revenue from our septic maintenance inspection revenue. Now, we are also going to have less staff on it. So what's happening in 2026 is, so we do have our plans examiner going on maternity leave. But we also have Bree, who's our supervisor of our septic maintenance program, coming back. So she is going to come back as a building inspector while I take over Noella's role as plans exam, and Bree comes back as an inspector. So Jess is going to maintain her position as the interim septic maintenance program supervisor. So we're only going to have one seasonal student in 2026 with helping Jess out. Next slide. So expenses, we don't have any notable changes in expensive. We are replacing 4 laptops. Again, that's about $9,000 in total. So it would have been higher, but we had to replace some iPhones. But our IT coordinator was able to extend those iPhones, so we don't have to replace them this year, and so that's saving us some money. Next slide. All right, so bylaw enforcement. So as I said, we're moving the building code order review fees to building. And so they're retaining the municipal order review. So any bylaws that they send orders on, they have their own orders. They're not building code orders, but they're still maintaining those municipal orders. And so we're reducing the STR application revenue by about $110,000 based on the number of actual STRs that we have. So it's about half of what was anticipated. So we have about 250 to 270 rather than the 500 that was anticipated. Next slide. And so another thing, the only thing that we're adding this year is contracting out canine pound services for approximately $300 a month. And so that's going to provide a better service for these dogs. It's, if you ever saw our pound, it's located at the Public Works garage. It is sad. I hate having dogs in there, so it's going to save on having to heat that building and maintain that building and clean out the kennels and attend on the weekends if we have dogs in the pound on the weekends. So that's about the only thing that we're adding to that budget. Any questions on either building or bylaw?
How many dogs did we have this?
So that $300 a month, I think it accounts for up to 5 dogs a month. We never do that. We've never had that many dogs. The dogs, so since I started in 2017, the number of dogs that we're dealing with, dog issues we're dealing with, has definitely increased. It used to be like 1 a year. Now we're doing, maybe 1 every 2 months. So we are catching more dogs, but when we can't find the owners, what to do with those dogs, $300 a month, I think, is very well spent on that service.
Do they pick them up and here and?
Well, we pick them up and then we drop them off at the pound service. So we don't have a definite one, but Clara Station is the one that Algonquin Highlands and I think Minden use. So we'll likely use that one. They're the only ones with an actual ministry approved pound. So I don't think that there's any others around.
Standard $300 a month, just in case there's only leaves.
It's up to 5 dogs that they'll house for us a month. Yeah.
Questions on that? Any questions of Carl? Well, you didn't fare too badly because
I told you there's nothing exciting.
Ask more for that car.
Well, we're hoping somebody uses it as their own personal vehicle.
Thanks, Carl. Okay, who's next? Who wants to be next? Parks and. Morning.
Good morning. We'll start off with our capital projects. We don't have as many as we normally do this year. So the first one will be the West Bay Boat Launch. $20,000. It should need a serious repair. You see, we've done a lot of patchwork, but it's getting worse and worse.
There were a lot of complaints about that boat launch this year. Well, yeah, but even before the water had dropped, we were getting complaints about that one.
And the next, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, is there any thought on doing something about the docks here and boat launch here in town?
Not on this budget.
No,
That boat launch would require a good amount of money, like the whole, not just the boat launch, but the
Whole platform.
platform is rotting and the piers are,
Is that ours now or is that federal?
that's ours.
Well, I think the problem was created because of low water. If normal water level, we never had complaints about that.
Yeah, you don't get the rot because there's less oxygen.
but there's a lot of complaints this fall with boats the trailers dropping down and then ruining sometimes the boat and the trailer.
Yeah.
Getting it out. So we're not planning on spending any money on that at all or doing.
Well, for our regular maintenance, we are planning on fixing that up, but it's not a big job like.
No,
I think too, if you mark it with something so they don't go farther back than that, they won't get into that situation. They
Yeah.
just back up as far as they can and
Yeah.
they're over the edge.
Yeah, by the spring, I'll be able to get permission from the ministry and stuff to dump some gravel and stuff at the end of it.
okay, thank you.
Okay,
Our next capital budget request is the Sandy Cove privy on the Drag Lake boat launch. The pictures are the ones we did at Sand Point, that's also on Drag Lake,
how much is that?
13,000.
Okay,
And the arena, well, we got pre-approved for doing the stand heaters for 21,000. That job is complete and it came just a little bit under budget at around 20,500. And also the Gymcom sports flooring tiles, we need to replace quite a few in the players' benches and stuff. They're starting to get worn out. They're 13 years old now, so. That's $9,000 for quite a few tiles now. It'll leave us a few spares for the future.
that's it.
That's it for capital.
And that's
Okay, that's parks.
Yeah.
That's not the arena though.
yeah, that's part.
That's and the arena.
Yep, yep.
So, Andrea, I think you had a new program in there for $10,000.
No, I've had the program in there all along. It's soccer and like soccer, any kind of recreation program. That's been in there for years. It's not added in. It's just,
Okay, well, it looked like it was new, didn't it? Did to me. Okay. Okay, any questions? Okay, move on.
Better scurry.
This is a good one. This is a plus.
Try to see if I could.
I know you did. I appreciate it.
So I'm just going to quickly touch on the capital budget, application revenues, expenses, and then do a quick summary. We only have one item under the capital budget. This is the consultant fees for the consolidated official plan process going through the county service delivery review. So the overall consultant fees are estimated at $150,000. The county is proposing to budget for half of that, whereas the four lower tiers will split the other half of that. So overall, that is about $18,750 for Dysart, and that money will be spread over 2 years. In terms of application revenues, there continues to be an upward trend. I think this year you'll see there's a good, a modest increase. And this is on the assumption that council will approve the structures in the water setback amendments. As mentioned during those presentations, that would lead to an increase in shore road allowance applications and site plan agreement applications. So that's where you're seeing that jump. In terms of legal, expenses, legal, consulting and GIS software are always our large expenses. GIS software, there's really not much change there other than the annual inflation. Consulting and legal fees continue to jump. That consulting fee, the main increase is due to those consulting fees for the service delivery review and the consolidated official plan. I think last year I doubled my legal budget. So we're anticipating a bit more there this year, whether it's appeals or municipal led projects, but yeah, those are our substantial expenses. And overall, this year, we're looking for about a 2.9% decrease on our overall operating budget, which is almost $14,000. But yeah, that's about it. Any questions?
Questions for Jeff? You're going in the right direction.
We're trying.
Thank you. Okay, no questions? Oh, yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
Next. Dan, maybe, or no, okay. Oh, this is a problem right here.
He's always one.
He's the big guy, he's the big gun in the house.
Oh, okay, very good. Stand by the door.
Good morning, Mayor, members of council. So I'm here to present the capital for all of Public Works. Obviously, we have some big numbers to go through. Braden went through the high level stuff and what it actually costs. I'm going to hopefully provide some insight on where that money goes. If you have any questions, what I can't answer today, just feel free to reach out and I'll bring Ashley and Dave into the conversation and we'll be ready for the next meeting. So next, please. So on the wastewater capital, so this is a user pay system. Some of this stuff is actually operating and maintenance, but we do present it annually just so for transparency on the accounts. Flushing, CCTV and odor control are all part of the operating and maintenance. It deals with basically cleaning out the lines, making sure the lines are functioning where they're supposed to, and we don't have to dig up, replace or repair. Rebuild filter cell number 1 is in there for 58 grand. We rebuilt number 2 last year. This one is now due. Moving on to refurbishing the pumps. This is an as needed line item we put in there. Sometimes we go over, sometimes we go under. There is redundancy in our system. So when a pump fails, we pull one out, take one off the shelf, replace it, rebuild and put one on the shelf kind of thing. PLC upgrades. So this has been a multi-year project. It's upgrading our new pump stations to increase communications with the plant. We started this about 4 years ago. This is going to be the final stage of it. So basically this is going to actually allow the pump stations to communicate properly with the plant, as we've had issues in the past on that. So. The next big one is upgrading the plant UV. We discussed this last year. It didn't make it into budget. We kind of revisited this one. They're going with a different system, which is significantly cheaper than what we had thought. We thought this was going to be a $500,000 job all day. And it's coming in at about 230. So I think that's a good news story. It can't be put off any longer. The system we have now is out of date. We can't get replacement parts for it. So we got to get ahead of it. The last but not least is the sewer flow analysis. So that's going to help us determine future growth. It's going to relate specifically to the County Road 21 property and down around the hospital. So it's going to see what we have there, what we need to do to promote growth moving forward. So that's it for wastewater. If we have any questions on that, we can deal with that now if you like, or we can wait.
Rob, is anything, Murray, you mentioned the last meeting that some of this stuff, but some of the I guess it's just expansion that's Ford says he's gonna start covering it more. Is that
Well, he can do certain
maintenance
things to try and enhance the amount of volume we have, or amount of capacity we have. He hasn't started that yet because we haven't authorized it, but we can. So,
You talking like stress test on the
yeah,
plant itself?
there's three things he can do to try and get the volume up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Moving on to environment. So we have a waste bin retrofit. So that comes down from a visit we had from Ministry of Labor in 2025. There was some ergonomic issues with the bins and what we do at some of our sites, specifically on the bare bins. So we're going to retrofit some of our bins to make it easier to open and close, and also keep the bears out. Obviously not an issue this time of year, but it is throughout the summer months. Retaining wall repair, this is a placeholder, and really, we know some that need to be repaired. We don't know what's going to happen when the frost comes out this spring, but all of our walls are at the age where we got to start doing something to them for upkeep. Same with new gates and fencing. These have been in for several years. We do have trespass issues at Haliburton and West Guildford specifically. This will help mitigate some of that. That would be an upset cost. We'll make sure not to exceed that. We'll do what we can with that kind of money. Transfer station design at Haliburton is ongoing. We started this last year. Harcourt has now we've had the ECA updated to provide for transfer station. So we're going to start designing that. I don't think it will be nearly as extensive as Haliburton, but we will go through that process throughout the course of this year. The next one's a big one, final cover on Kinesis and West Guildford landfill faces, combined $429,000. We do hope to kind of tighten that number up, maybe for the next meeting. It's very high level at this point. We got to do a bit more digging on that one. The last one isn't really capital, but it is notable. There is a beaver dam that is impacting the West Guildford site, so it's backing the water up, and we are starting to get concerns about leachate. So we do have to deal with this beaver dam, and it's very hard to get to. You can probably get to it now if you walk across the pond, but you can't get to it in the summer. So we're still doing some investigation on that and how we're going to deal with that, but it needs to be dealt with this year.
Blast it or no?
Yeah, is it on municipal land or is it on private land?
It is split almost exactly 50% on us, 50% on private.
I guess we can deal with our 50%.
Well, it's also a liability to the property owner that's there too, so.
Apparently he likes beavers.
That's what they're doing to be doing that. Yeah, unless you build a road for it. Anyway.
So it's going to be a tough one, but we'll get through it.
So the big kicker there is covering Kinesis and West Guildford, and they both have to be done now this year?
There's a scale of economy if you do them both at the same time. I'm not sure which needs to be done first, but we can come back with that information too if you want to do one and not the other.
Because
West Guildford's going to be the big one.
In the budget is the
West Guildford's going to be the big one. So.
Our increase that you have estimated right now, all these things are included in this?
Yeah. So that's a possibility right there.
What would be Guildford versus Kinesis, like the cost?
I'm going to say 3-1. Guildford to be 3 times higher, I'm guessing.
And Kinesis.
And Rob, what is that an in-house thing we can do then, or is that something that's got to be tendered out, or a combination, or?
We did Haliburton a few years ago, and it was we tendered the material, so it was imported topsoil, and we just rented a dozer from Battlefield and did the work ourselves for the sloping.
And that price that you've got there, is that you're thinking along that same line?
Yeah. Yeah, it worked out pretty well. Because the way it worked out is they couldn't flood us with material, so it was almost like a backhaul situation. So when they had trucks, they'd drop off kind of 6 loads, and we'd push it over, and we'd come back when there was 6 or 8 or 10 loads there again and push it over.
So can we use what kind of material do we have to use for that? Is there a specific kind of material?
It depends on the site. We're pretty fortunate. They generally only call for topsoil. Some sites around here call for a little bit of clay underneath, which really adds to the costs. But I'll just confirm the,
Well, we couldn't use that pit we have at the end of, so we don't have any fill real close to it.
not enough to really dent it, no.
Where does the topsoil come from?
The last batch came from down around Sunderland, I think. Yeah.
Any questions for this? No, this is something we'll need to dig into this item, but we'll see where we are. Maybe there's a point here. Okay.
Yeah, so some big numbers here. Obviously, the Highland Street Sidewalk Replacement Program has been talked about for quite a while here. We're guessing around $1.3 million on that. That number might fluctuate a little bit, obviously depending on the tendered costs, but the pedestrian crossover in the center of town as well. If we want to upgrade that to current standards, I'm going to say you're probably looking at $100,000 just off the top of my head. But we'll know better at detailed costing.
This is a stupid question, but I have to ask it. We did this how many years ago? 7?
Oh, it was 13, I think.
Did it 13?
Yeah.
Well, the engineering that was done for that, there's nothing changed on that main street. Can we use that or?
No, it's been pre-engineered already. We're at the 90% design. There's several spots where we have to do grade adjustments. There's spots where the sidewalk's actually flowing back towards buildings. Yeah, so it was, once you got in there and surveyed it and, you walked it and looked a little closer at it, there's definitely some issues that had to be rectified, so. Moving on to the next one. So we're looking at doing the engineering for new grizzly screen at the Public Works yard. We went through the exercise last year of looking at a sand dome or a covered structure for our sand. And if you recall, I provided 3 options last year. We could look at a sand dome, we could replace the grizzly or put the screens in the back of the trucks. In my mind, if you want to put $2 million into a sand dome, I think we probably just want to keep what we have. It's been working for us this long. So if we can get the engineering on this year, it's something that I don't know enough about. We have to go through this exercise to see what they're worth. It's probably worth a lot more than what I think. So if we engineer it this year and maybe budget for construction next year, we can get one more year out of what we have. So obviously the bridge replacements, that'll be carry over from 2025 at $3.8 million all in. The new tandem plow was pre-approved earlier this year for $410,000. I'm expecting it probably Q2 in 2026. New 1-ton plow at $120,000 and 2 overhead door replacements at the Roads Garage for $20,000. Throughout the last several years, we have been replacing doors. We have 4 left, so the hope is to do 2 this year, 2 next year.
You didn't have the Highland Street in there. We didn't go over that. We got a Highland Street, the top one. We did. What happened this year, I don't think. Hmm?
What is that income?
Yeah, more we do.
From York to the traffic lights, both sides. No, there'll be probably a half-meter cut in the parking lane just when they pull the curbs out, but the road itself will remain untouched. Yes, new curbs. So the hope is to pull out all the curbs that are there, replace those, replace the paver stones with stamped concrete and put new sidewalk in.
How old would the equipment be that we're replacing there, Rob?
I'd have to get back to you on that just so I can be accurate with it, but I'll get that information for you. Yeah, well, we switched some things around with what we sold this year because one of the older trucks was in better shape than one of the newer trucks. So I just want to make sure I give you good information on that.
But that's.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is not an expected cost.
No.
And like $410,000, a lot of money, I understand that. But like fixing them is not considered in these times, like.
The new ones don't last nearly as long as the old ones do,
Thank you.
unfortunately.
Then Rob, do we usually like, do we do a tandem truck a year pretty much or not?
We're I want to use the right words here. We say 8-year cycle, but we try and keep them longer if we can, but we have 9 in the fleet, if that makes sense. So if you go by the math, you should be doing 1.1 every year. We try not to if we can hang on to them a bit longer. And it depends really where the truck's running too, because I'll say if a senior guy has a truck, obviously it's going to have more wear and tear, more miles than somebody that doesn't drive it year round. So we try and move them around as best we can, but on average, you're looking at 1 a year.
And it looks like there's no equipment, there's no loaders, no graders this coming year.
No, but the wave is coming for sure.
Okay.
And I will make note too, for those that deal with equipment around here. That 410, that's for an automatic transmission. We're getting a 14-speed automatic, which came in cheaper than the 18-speed manual. So we had, they came up and we took one for a demo up here for a day or two or however long it was. Senior operator in it, loved it. So had lots of power, did what he thought it would do, and it was cheaper to boot. So that's what we went with.
What kind of warranties on those?
We haven't purchased extended warranty yet. We can do that when it arrives, but we will have that conversation when it arrives. Generally we get the extended. Yeah.
What's that?
Just so the sidewalk's in there because we have to borrow whenever we do it. And that, so it's not necessarily going to be done this year, I don't think. Get the, I don't know whether we can get the engineering done in time.
We can be ready.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's be cost savings stamp versus just standard concrete product.
Anyway, if it's a big cost to stamp it, I don't even know if I bother with it. There's ridges and stuff like that in it. In terms of plowing it, if we're still scraping the sidewalks off with a grader or something with a steel blade, like a metal blade on it, it won't be good for it.
And is the stamping more or less for the looks of things? Is that what the idea of the
Yeah,
stamping is?
it gives it a bit of a texture. It gives it looks. It is comparable to the paver stones. It might actually be a little bit cheaper than the pavers
Yeah.
that were there now, but ultimately it's going to be council's decision. What's there now isn't working, so I wouldn't suggest going back to pavers.
No, no, for 100%.
I don't even think my own opinion, for the cost of it even being slightly incremental, I wouldn't even bother with the stamp
Mhm.
either.
They can put some pretty nice finishes on,
Yeah.
on your concrete now without stamping them. Like they've
that-
got 2 or 3 different ways of grooving them and stuff like that, brushing them and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a big cost or not, but
Well, and part of it too is you do want to delineate between your sidewalk and your boulevard because it does make a difference if somebody slips on a boulevard versus sidewalk. So we just want to have that clear delineation. So, I mean, you could put asphalt in if you wanted, but it would look a little rugged, but it's a choice.
Topsoil. I was just thinking if the cutting edges are going over it, it'd scar it up pretty quick, but that's my own opinion anyway. Anyhow,
Okay.
Uh,
There?
Yeah,
Everybody?
so last one here. So this is our proposed 2026 road resurfacing. So everything in here with the exception of Winona Lake is rehabilitation. So generally we used to do a little bit of pavement preservation. The network is just kind of fallen off that much now that the money's better spent to rehab what we have. So obviously we have all of the Halbium subdivision that we started last fall. Fred Jones and Winona Lake out in the east end. And I mean, I'm not going to go through road by road really here, but if anybody sees something that they question, on, the why we're doing it. One thing I do want to note is on Harmony Road, there's the water course that comes through from Harbor and goes through there. I do recommend we do a drainage study on there just to make sure that we have the right size culverts there. There's a big one at the upstream side. It's about a 7-footer, I think. Obviously, we don't have problems with it. Maybe it's a little bit overkill. I don't know. The lower set, we have some 3-foot plastic ones there. And I've been here 14 years and we've probably been there 12 times for overtopping. So obviously we have to do something there. Generally what we would do is a culvert would get replaced, and if the water overtops, we'd go back and put another one in. And if it overtopped, we go back and put another one in. And that was kind of the methodology of what we would do in years past. But if we're going to go through there and do the road, we might as well know exactly what we need and do it right the first time, be done with it. In the grand scheme of things, the study itself isn't going to be a huge cost, and it's going to be work that I think we can do in-house as far as the construction.
So how do you need, you don't need an engineer to determine that, do you? Or do
Yeah,
you-
I'd go out for 3 quotations. It'll be a quick one.
Okay. Okay. So those are all in Ward 1, Pat? Other than Winona Road and. I don't say until. I think no. And I questioned everyone in there, like Meadowview and stuff, and I was convinced by the staff that they were pretty bad, so I guess that's why they're still there. I know the ones in town are pretty bad. Start Ridge.
Yeah, and on that, this pricing, it includes like a clear stone. So it's gonna alleviate the dust issues that we have with the class 2. So again, until the pricing comes in, we really don't know, but this is my best guess on costing.
Well, we're so tight here, when the prices come in and they're way over, we're gonna have to be careful. Be overspent. Okay. Any questions then? On that list? Okay, sounds like you're good. Thank you. Now, Dan?
I provided that picture just to show. My apologies. I provided that picture just to show, we're going to be referring to the SCBA, and that's the backpacks, air packs that everyone's be wearing in that picture there. Go ahead. So first, to just refer back to replacement of rescue truck number 5. That's been pre-approved by council and gone through the process. And just a reminder that it is due to arrive into January if it remains on schedule, which so far so good it has. But just to be aware that it does fall into this tax year, so make sure that number's there, the $325,000. I don't know if there should be any questions on that, I assume. Okay, move ahead, please. It's the SCBA replacement. So standards have changed. I've been investigating this for a bit because I was thinking it might be time in the near future to look to change these air packs out. Industry standards are now going for, they made some changes here. And so the packs that we have, as you can see, based on this file here, the recommended replacement is after 2 upgrades of the next edition for the design for them. And the newest one was due to come in 2026. Now I found out that actually the edition of the standard has already come out, and it's actually gone into place as of September of this year. So with this new standard, the way it's coming in, it's not just the 2 editions, and we were able to upgrade our packs to those. Most of them are still going to be 3 editions old once the new one has now come into place. So it's going to be time to replace them. So the standard also recommends, even if they were within the 2 editions, once they've hit 20 years old, they should be replaced. And then the next thing is industry standards, because of what they're doing is they're focusing on making sure the firefighters have more time for rehabilitation and getting a chance to air off their equipment. And they're trying to do more cancer prevention stuff with the carcinogens. So they're asking, allowing more time to be on air so that you can stand outside and to let your equipment clear off. So that's part of one, whether referring to a new minimum air volume. And the 2216 cylinders that we have don't have that minimum volume in them. Go ahead, please. So our current inventory, we have 15 SCBA packs. That includes 30 masks. There's one for every firefighter. So we all have our own. So that's one thing to help keep contamination from crossing. And then we have 60 of the 2216 cylinders. And that's approximately 20-minute work time on your air supply. Pardon me? It doesn't seem like very much. And it does depend on the individual. Some people can make those last longer. Some people can go 30 minutes, 35 minutes. Some people can only go about 10. Partly depends on how hard you're working and then just how well you're used to the packs. But that's the approximate estimated is 20 minutes per person. So unfortunately, current status of that, 9 of those packs have been upgraded components. They're 20 years old as of March of 2026. So they will already surpass the newly recommended 20-year upgrade or 20-year lifespan, sorry. One pack actually was removed from service October 27th. It was deemed that it was going to be more expensive to source out parts and repair that one than it would be to try and purchase a refurbished one from elsewhere. And then 3 of the manufactured SCBA are newer and they could remain in service. So that's 3 out of the 15, unfortunately. Now, sorry, I should clarify. The allotment for these is this allows us to do the interior firefighting. That's the standard. So I mean, for us to be outside and putting, still fighting fires from an exterior only, then we could still be using this equipment. So I do want to be clear on that. However, we have, and we are trained for it, and we've been certifying our firefighters to work with the interior attack. And that also allows us to interact with our neighboring municipalities who are also doing the same thing. So I'm recommending that we want to continue the interior attack capabilities. And then the other thing in my investigation, I found out that 50% of those 60 cylinders are at or above the 10 years of their maximum 15-year lifespan. So they are going to have to be replaced in the upcoming years as well. Next, please, Daniel. So replacement and upgrade. So by switching to the 4,500 cylinders, that's approximately a 45-minute air supply. So it's about double of what they have now. And that will satisfy the interior attack standard that's come out. And then that being the case, there's double the air supply in each cylinder. So we can hopefully only require half the number of cylinders. And then that means we only have 30 cylinders to be doing the hydrostatic testing on every 5 years instead of 60. So hopefully there's a bit of a cost savings in that for the lifespan. And then again, we're starting fresh on everything. Estimated replacement costs is about $15,000 per SCBA. That's including a spare cylinder for each. And sorry, they are not interchangeable, so we can't just buy part. But the cylinders look similar. We can't have a bunch of 4,500 cylinders with the 2216s because they won't go into the same packs, and so that's caused a safety issue because of the regulators. So hopefully I was clear on everything there. If there's any questions? Yeah,
But some of the 2216s you can keep for like a really smoky external fire. You really need the 4500s with the new packs for internal, right?
Yes, but the problem is keeping track of which is which and sorting them out. I mean, I imagine there's a way that we can probably do that. And then in a couple of years, they will probably be outdated as well anyway. So, I mean, we might be able to keep them for a couple of years. We're looking at a grand total of approximately 225,000. Yeah.
Any of that accounted in this budget? Right?
It's in there.
No, it's in.
Oh, it is in there?
Yep.
Okay, okay. So how much is accounted for in the budget then?
For that specifically, the whole thing.
The
It's
whole
all in
thing?
there. Yep.
Okay.
All right, but this is something that you can't fool with. Like we gotta have this proper equipment for it's 2026, everything's updated and we gotta keep, the men safe, correct? That's what.
We do need to do something for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. My recommendation is to do the whole thing. And that's why I've come to this based on the information going through these standards and stuff. That industry best practices and all that are aligning with this.
Yeah. Okay. No.
All right. I think that was everything. I think I was the last one, so thank you very much.
Just want to make one comment because I know the way the budget's laid out this year is a little bit different than has been standard practice, but as we talk about the capital projects, on the 5.83%, only 1.5 of that is tied to capital. And the reason it's that way is because of the asset management plan. So if you're looking at projects or changing out projects or reducing projects, it doesn't change the levy increase requirement because that's tied to an external piece of legislation. The idea is, I think, just generally to get away from the idea of cutting capital to save on the levy, because big picture, the capital budget as a whole is severely underfunded, right? So I just want to make sure that's out there.
I've been all through that with Braden because typically that's the way we did it. We'd reduce the capital budget and we automatically thought that was going to reduce the budget. But doing it this way, which is the right way, I believe, to do it, it just doesn't work that way. Okay. So the procedure now, we got anything else that council would like to add?
I just have a quick question again about the OPP costing. Is each municipality getting that 11% increase?
In
Like
Halbert County.
everybody's the same?
Not good. And the province did give us some more money this year, but you know, I don't know how long that's gonna last. They've cut the county back. And if they start to cut us back, we're on a dangerous road there. Which I think is coming. What I hear. So, nothing but good news. Anyway. Braden, you have
So,
something else?
yeah, so for now, if there's no more questions, we just have a resolution to acknowledge receipt of the budget, and then at the January 9th meeting, we'll bring it back again, and that'll be an opportunity if there's any recommended amendments for council to do a resolution.
Okay. Any other discussion before we move on?
How much of a percent is it to increase like for our operating? Like a 0.2%, like right now we're at 5.83. If we went to 5.85, does that make any significant difference in any area? Or is it better to increase that 1.5 up to like 1.7 for the capital?
Yeah,
to get up to the asset management plan.
if you wanted to, I would say, yeah, the best course of action would be to go to the 10-year,
Yeah.
which is a 2.2 on the capital instead of 1.5. So
Gotta put it up 0.7, which is almost a percent again. No, we've looked at all those things. It's just not easy to try to get it somewhere around 6 or under. And I think like Minden's at 3.27. So, you know, if we're at 7 or 8, they're not gonna look very good here. But you know, we have what we have, so. We got a lot of different, we got a whole lot of bridges, they don't have any to replace. Yeah. Street, got a lot of stuff. Yeah. And you know, we've taken some revenue out, like parking meters and stuff, and all good things for the community. And very well received too. They're good decisions, but they're still still a cost. Okay. So I guess we'll move on and get your input. Don't be afraid if you see something, just call us or, you know, but, I'm sure it'll surface. Go ahead, Lori.
Be it resolved that the 2026 proposed mayoral budget be received.
Move for seconded. Nancy and Pat, all in favor? Okay. And confirming by law?
Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-123 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the special council meeting held on December 12th, 2025, be read a first, second, and third time passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached thereto.
Move and seconded. Barry and Walt, all in favor? Gary? And the adjournment.
Be it resolved that council adjourn its special meeting held on December 12th, 2025 at 10:12.
Move and seconded. Walt and Nancy, all in favor? Gary, thank you. And thank the staff for participating.